and welcome to the GodIsAGeek.com podcast. My name is Adam Cook. This is episode 552, and for those who have not tuned in for a while, nor have we. Welcome, everybody. There's Chris, there's Lyle, the whole gang, sort of, minus Mick, is here. Hello, how is everybody? Talk at once, please.
Really fucking free. We're back.
That's the one. That's the one.
No fucking order.
For those who have just fallen off their chair, you have not entered a time warp. This is a real podcast, and
we're back.
Let's not get carried away and say we're back. Let's just say back. This is a podcast.
Never missing another week ever.
No, don't be saying shit like that this early on. Is everybody okay? I should say there are questions we have from listeners that will address some of where we have been, so we will get to those later. But we don't want to start off. I don't want to start off by making everyone utterly depressed. So I thought we'd talk about some games, and then when we get to the listener correspondence,
for podcast, that's a good stance to take, I find.
Yeah. Like, if they're depressed at the end, they've at least already listened, you know?
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. I figured by the time we talked about the games, there is a question that literally says, "How are you all doing?" I'm at the age where I do not lie about that anymore. Do you know when people like you go, "You're right, mate," and someone goes, "Yeah, I'm okay."
Well, you're one of those people.
No, I'm not.
When people are just generally, it's basically a hello, and you're like, "Oh, strap in, let me tell you."
It's a courtesy greeting, isn't it? But nowadays, when someone asks that, I go, I'm all right. Well, actually,
you're like, got a minute. I was only passing you in the street. Jesus Christ,
I wouldn't do
20
that.
20 minutes late now.
No, I wouldn't do it if it was like a random meet. No, if I'm talking like if you're properly in for the evening, you know what I mean? It's we've got games to talk about.
There's no escape. Like if you've met up somewhere.
No, you can. What I'm saying is, when you hear the question,
you're a nice evening out. You're eating pizza with a knife and fork, crust first, and then someone just says, "So, how's your day been?" You're like, "Right, well, you're going to eat crust first in front of me. I'm going to fucking hammer home."
I'm going to tell you. It was you that made this change in me. I was like, if he's going to do that, I'm just going to start being brutally honest.
I dragged you down. I'm sorry.
We need to talk about some video games. But when we get to listener correspondence, after Chris says, here's the first question, if you want to skip then, and because you don't want to be upset, I'm not really going to upset anybody. I'm going to be broad. But we're going to also be broad because we're not going to spoil things for this next game. The first game in quite some time. Astro Bot. Lyle Cars, 10 out of 10. What did you call it in the review? One of the greatest platformers of all time, or something like that?
The Pokemon Snap of platforms.
It is. It's the new Pokemon Snap of platformers. Sorry. Also, I was introduced wrong. Sorry. It's the first podcast appearance of Lyle Pendle here.
Fuck.
Oh,
I've been so sorry.
No, we should address that. We should.
Well, that's one of the reasons, isn't it? But I'm getting sorry. I'm ever so sorry. It's not Lyle Carr. It's still confusing me. I'm apologizing. It's Lyle Pendle.
It's confusing me. Don't worry. It's fine.
Yes.
Congratulations again on getting married, mate.
We should probably explain. Yeah, I was going to
put
say
a ring on it, etc.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a podcast title lined up, but you've just managed to.
Yeah, is that good?
For those not watching the video, Lyle's waving a wedding ring around, so he's a married man now. Right?
That's single ladies dance as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's the reason to join in now. We're still doing that.
Do you want to know the weird thing though? Is that I don't need to say your surname. You're the only Lyle here. Really, it needs to be. There's Chris Hyde and Chris White, but you're just like this enigma that I feel like I have to. Every time, but it's going to take some getting used to, Mr. Pendle. I did that so it would sound like an edit, Mr.
Really
Pendle.
Authoritative as well. It's like Mr. Pendle. It's like
It does a bit.
It's a bit like a school teacher. It's like
sounds like a man who would always be carrying a biro.
It's like
like there's always a biro in the top of that shirt pocket.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, that's like my Simpsons reference. You know, the Dallas Pendles. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't work. Astro Bot, Lyle Pendle.
Yeah.
Sorry again, apologies.
No, this is fine. This is what the podcast is all about. This is how you can tell we're back.
Crusty.
Distractions and tangents and all sorts. Yeah, so Astro Bot, it's like the best platformer, isn't it? It's so
pretty
good.
Damn good.
You said we weren't going to spoil it, and we're not going to spoil it, but I'd love to spoil it. It'd be great to spoil it, to talk about all the great things, but it'd be also quite horrible to spoil it for Chris Hyde, as well as listeners, realistically.
Yeah, I haven't played it, so please, you guys, I appreciate the fact that you didn't put a lot of stuff in the video views, just the first couple of levels, right? So it's like
there's nothing
and
from
none
past...
of the bots that have any of the outfits on or any of the references basically at all.
Yeah.
I think there was one sort of special bot, do we call them? But I think it was the one that they've kind of used the most in the marketing. But generally speaking, I did try to keep it as spoiler free as possible, because it's it's strange really, because I don't think you could spoil it without literally sitting there and going, and these are the cameos, this is the level that, you know, like there are so many moments like I've had Mick Fraser texting me saying this is unbelievable, and I'm like, yep, and he goes, I said, how far are you? Because I want to talk about the end of the world too. And he's like, oh, I've only done the first 3 or 4 levels. And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure, that's really good, that part, isn't it?
That is good, but who boy have you got more to come? It is. It's a wonderful. I mean, if you played Astro's Playroom, the sort of smaller packing game with the PS5, it is for the most part the same sort of thing. It's the same controls. It's the same going through levels looking for bots to rescue and puzzle pieces, but it's just that expanded out in the most breathtaking and creative way possible. There are so many power-ups that you'll get in levels which are just like these fantastic, completely change the game power-ups that you think, oh, this must be something that I'm going to be using all the time now. This is a new thing. And it'll just like, no, that's just for this one level that you're doing this thing that's like a big enough hook that a whole game series could be like, this is what's cool about this game. It's like, no, this is just a thing you get for a level, then we'll throw it away. You might get it a little bit later, but for the most part, you know, you're seeing these amazing ideas once, or at least once in a very specific situation. I think, like, of all things, the like variety in the level design is probably the most impressive, in that like every new level you go to, you'll think, why has a platformer not made a level like this before? Or you'll think, or like something will happen that will just like blow you away. And it's so hard not to spoil. It's really hard not to spoil anything.
Well,
but there are just
they
like
do weird. Oh yeah, no, I was about to say something. Now I'm. There's power ups you have,
because I don't know anything about it.
I mean, well, that seems odd, but go for it.
I can only guess from what I've seen, right? But I get distinctly Mario Odyssey It Takes Two vibes from this game.
See, It Takes Two, I think it's like, that's one thing I thought of when with the way, like, so one of the mechanics is slowing down time, right?
I mentioned that in the review. It's quite a simple
and like you can, like, you use it to, if a platform like it goes up and it keeps moving down slowly, you can stop it so it stays in the air. That, like, logically, that kind of works. Gates open and shut quickly, you can use it to keep gates open. But then it advances and evolves, and it does things like when an enemy throws a load of like items at you, like there's a ghost that throws plates and cutlery at you. You can freeze it so that you can then jump onto the plates and attack him from up high. There's all that, there's that kind of stuff, and there's like spinning like knives around in a circle, and you have to try and walk through it.
The dartboard for me is the one that really got me, because I was like, that's going to be something. Oh, it's one of those things where you remember when games used to see that sort of thing, but it didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Now we're into the realm of where it does something, and you're like, I can. That sort of, that creativity, you think.
It makes the most out of every single ability.
That's what I mean when I, because that's what you kind of said, Lyle, and that's why I was like, well, that sounds like It Takes Two, in the sense that it's throwaway, but it was like throwaway because you didn't just use it for the rest of the game, but it also did something and then built on it a few times.
Yeah, it does that,
and then sort of let it go, let it have its moment, and then threw you something else, which is amazing.
I do want to mention, right, because it's one of those games, it's a weird one to talk about, because it's a platform game and everyone's played one of those, if that makes sense. And it's not really even that story-heavier game. In terms, we talk about spoilers, we are talking about the cameos and stuff.
No, I've seen the big green alien.
Yeah, but like
that's
big
green alien, and that's what happens,
But one thing I want to talk about, and it really is going to feel like people have walked through a bit of a bizarro sort of thing, because this is not something I tend to go on about. The audio and visuals are kind of next level in a way I don't know where we go from here, because it's not... I was playing a bit of it today. I was doing some mop-up trying to get like the 100% stuff. And there was a moment where the audio from the DualSense and the rumbling of the DualSense and the motion control and the level design and how it looked and how it felt kind of really... I was just had a moment where I was like, if you take this one bit out, this is just a great game still. Like, but putting it in, it's mind-blowing. Like, the technological sort of aspects of it, like, it is... Like, the DualSense stuff is ridiculous.
Well,
I know
this was the other thing I was going to kind of ask, if I'm honest with you, because my main lasting memories from Astro's Playroom, it was a good platformer. Let's not get me wrong; it was good, but it was the stuff it was doing with the controller that we haven't really seen since. You know, the whole rain and sand stuff in the sandstorm. This is the stuff I remember from that game.
Not to that level.
No.
Yeah, not to that level. And that like I wouldn't think to put that in there. Is that kind of thing?
I think it's next level. Like there's, I don't know if this is just me, Chris White and Lyle Pendle. Answer me this: when the game first starts. Obviously, you are walking around, and every footstep, whatever floor you're on, is replicated, tippy-tapping in the DualSense. When that first started, it was almost like, oh, I wonder if people are going to find this too much. By the time I'd finished, I was like, I'd forgotten it was even doing it, because everything about it became so natural, and it felt like this is just how games are now. I am like they are the masters of that controller. 100%.
They are.
It's the immersion of it.
100%.
Yeah.
Like that, you get so immersed, and I think a lot of what helps that as well is that there are so many parts of the game that are so like just joyous and playful. Like there'll be so many times where you'll open up a room and it'll just be full of like hundreds of gems for no reason because it vaguely fits the theme.
But that's another thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
You carry on. I'll keep my opinion stored.
Keep it. Yeah, you've got it ready. But yeah, you'll like you'll open like a treasure room and loads of gems will fall out. Or you'll open like some sort of like cupboard on a bath themed level and loads of rubber ducks or bouncy balls or something will fall out. And there's no reason for that to happen other than like it'll like maybe the gems will tinkle on the controller a bit and you'll feel it. Yeah, or is there?
Because I was going to ask you about the desert level where there's barrels full of nuts and bolts, I think. And is that just for effect? Because when the wind hits, I kept thinking, is there a super secret here? Oh.
Yeah, there's a lot of super secrets. So yes, saying it's all there for show maybe it isn't always the case.
I think some of it is. Like, I think some of that is
definitely
like
is.
Yeah,
but like every time that happened. Anytime I walked into a room like that had these gems in, there was not a single time I didn't hold down the charge button and then do a spin and send them flying and just like grin to myself, just being silly with this game. Like it makes you smile all the way from doing things like that to then the cameos that we can't talk about, but that are, gaming characters essentially or gaming references throughout the game. You will like, if you've played any other video games, it will make you incredibly happy. There'll be some you don't recognize. I think there are very few people who would get every single one immediately.
I'll be looking
there are some
for a
that
list
felt like
of
they were made just... Yeah.
I don't know about you, but like when the game's been out a bit longer, I'll be Googling a list for like the full list of them, because there are quite a few where I'm like, I think I know, but I kind of want you to just tell me. Chris, do you want to pull that pin?
Yeah. Now I've got more though, so I'm like,
that's fine.
All I was going to say was that when you're talking about the gems, like that room where you're walking around, I was just in there for about 5 minutes. Just, it's gorgeous, like it's so beautiful, and each individual gem there's like feels like there's thousands there. They're just so well animated. So the visuals are insane. But no, talking about the characters, have you the base hub, the hub world or whatever? Have you hit that like floating memory card?
Yeah.
So so I was like looking through all the characters and trying to work out who was who, and there's so many that are like not just PlayStation.
Well, that's what I was going to get into next.
Like,
that's the biggest thing. No one's saying PlayStation. Everyone's saying games.
No,
if you've played games,
platforms.
Yeah, there's a reason
games that feature on multiple platforms: Switch, Xbox, whatever.
Yeah, the lot.
It's just brilliant. Yeah.
There are some. We're not going to again promise we will not say any names, but there are some. I would love to, and we'll have to do it offcast, or if you want to put it in the comments section, if you're watching on YouTube, or whatever. I bet there is one for each of us, and there will be for you, Chris Hyde, when you play it, that was like, oh my God. Because I really wish I'd asked. Lyle, you told me there was a one that felt like it was there, like they'd specifically done it for you. And I think I know which one now, but I need to ask you, and I can't. But I bet you had that, Chris, as well. I bet you had moments where you're like, this is unreal.
I had one was in the, because there's obviously, you've got your main levels, and you've got your hidden levels, and then you've got your challenge levels. One of the challenge levels, one specifically, there was one there that blew me away. And then there was some from my favorite game of all time. So if you know me, you'll know, but it was just amazing. So exciting to see.
It felt quite special, like finding them. I would really, and it's why we're being so careful to not spoil, because it feels quite special when you uncover some of them, because some of them will mean nothing to you, but you'll be like, that's cool, But there will be that one or two or three or four that really, like, they meant something to you when you were growing up, or something to someone you care about. It was really interesting to me, Lyle, when you were saying about it's a celebration of gaming. Never once did you say it's a celebration of PlayStation. Now, there is that in there. Let's not kid ourselves. There is much PlayStation love. And if you've played the previous games, you'll know what we're talking about. But it is genuinely just a celebration of I would, like, the only criticism we could come up with between us, you and Lyle and I, is that, like, when you go into the menus, it would be nice if it just said character name from video game first appeared in. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the only
just a
thing.
Weird like spinning marsupial or something like that. They all have names that are just like you'll know what it is if you know what it is. But if you don't know what it is, you'll be like, what the fuck is this?
No, I'm not done with it, if that makes sense. Like, I've finished it. I've got all the bots. I've got a few things I want to do. I was looking at the trophy list. I don't think it's going to be one I can not platinum, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I thought so.
It doesn't look too difficult. Yes. It's just, It's a weird one, though, because, like, for example, Mick Fraser's loving it. He's not the platform game guy. Not at all.
He normally shits on Mario from a great height, doesn't he? Like, normally.
But this
not
is
being a dick.
his
He
wheelhouse.
doesn't like Mario, does he?
No, he's not keen. But, like, then in Mario, you'll see references to Mario and Nintendo. Whereas, as I say, this is references. They've all been on PlayStation in some way, shape, or form. But they aren't like, oh, you'll only be able to play this. Some are, obviously. I mean, there's obvious ones we don't even need to name. You know they're going to be there. But there are many that you're like, some of them are real deep cuts, like real deep cuts. And some of them are quite broad, but you're like, wow, I wouldn't have expected that, because that's kind of on everything. And I wonder if that's the thing. So he's getting the same gameplay feel, but now it feels like it's for him. Whereas he's felt sort of excluded when playing a Nintendo game. Now it's like, no, I know all these references. I'm getting all these references,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think even just things like the different worlds you're on as well, they're so different and so exciting, and like it just every single stage mixes things up enough that it doesn't feel like you're like being slowly introduced and just having like this is like there's not a desert world or a fire world. There's a like single level of one idea, and some of the ideas incredibly niche. You wouldn't really think of using it for a platform level, and some of them aren't, but they're done so exceptionally well. Like it's a very hard game to get bored of, because every new level is just like you're immediately delighted and excited to see what's next. It's an incredibly hard game to put down.
Did you find there was like anticipation with certain levels? So like when there was the casino level, you anticipate, maybe this character might be here because of
and sometimes that does kind of happen. There's sometimes a bit of a framing to, this level's a bit spooky. Maybe there's someone from a bit of a spooky game, and things like that. And that was really cool. And then and even just like, because you get to see the planets just as you're flying around on like the the world map space bit, you get to see that there's like, you get to see what's coming next kind of, and you'll be like, I could go to this one or this one, and it's like it's so hard to choose sometimes. It's like, this looks really weird and obscure, but this might have cameos from these characters, and I'd like to see stuff like that.
Yeah definitely.
Chris Hyde's losing it, and I don't know why.
It was the way you said spooky, and I just imagined you saying that out loud. I don't know why. Just, that is a perfectly legitimate thought to go, I wonder if there's a spooky character. Sorry, it was really stupid.
Just being looked at.
Sorry.
Like,
and then I did lose it.
What are you on about?
Unprofessional. I'm out of practice.
We all are, mate. I will say this game had moments where I did talk to myself, so it's not entirely impossible. Like, there were moments where I would just go, what? Or wow. They're not like full conversations. I'm not quite there yet. Probably not far off. But I will also say, like, this is going to be a very, very hard game. It's going to be one of them games where you finish it, you do platinum it, you kind of 100% it, and then you're like, I just want it, more of it. Like that, I would not want to have to design a sequel. Do you know what I mean? Because there are parts of this game, or there are power-ups in this game, and this is where I get the It Takes Two thing as well, but I liken it to Odyssey, where they introduced the idea. But I suppose we likened It Takes Two to Odyssey as well in that way, where there is a power-up early on in the first world where I genuinely would have happily played a full game of it, and it's like, I think you get to use it maybe 4 or 5 times, and every time I play it, I'm like, it wasn't like the 4th or 5th time I didn't go, oh well, run out of ideas. It was like, I still would just happily play a whole game of this power-up, and I think that's remarkable. It's a remarkable video game, it is. And speaking of beautiful-looking video games, we can move on to Visions of Mana, Chris Hyde, right?
A game I have played. Huzzah!
Whee!
Oh, yeah.
So, where to start with this? So, yeah, you're right. It's a beautiful game. So
you should set your stall out, because you
I
are
don't
a big
want to
fan
make
of
it
the
all
Mana
about
game.
me.
Yeah.
No, but I've asked you to talk about it. People want to
fair
hear
enough.
you talk about it. It's one of your favorite series.
Yeah. So, I mean, yes, Secret of Mana on the SNES, one of my first console video games, my favorite video game of all time. So no pressure to the Mana series at all. And Visions of Mana is like the first like Western new entry in the series, like 15 years, right? There's been like remakes and collections and stuff that have released over the last few years that I've actually reviewed on the site, but a proper new game hasn't happened for a long time. So it's been a bit of one of those series where you're like, come on, I love that series. Why have we abandoned it, kind of thing? And so when this got announced, I was like a pig in shit, kind of like bouncing around, because like there was like a few little references and musical beats and stuff from Secret of Mana, and I was like, oh, this is going to be my spiritual successor 30 years in the making. So like I say, no pressure, no high expectations going into this one, but just make it better than my favorite game of all time, please, Square. That'd be great.
Easy.
And I guess, is it the best? Is it better than the best game ever? No, it isn't. No. But it's still a very, very good game, and I think it's a solid entry into the series. I don't know if any of you guys played the Trials of Mana, a remake that they did a couple of years ago, because the combat's very similar to that. You kind of go around like an open world in sort of third person perspective, and then the enemies are out in the field. You go near enemies, and then there's like an Okami type ring appears around you, and you've got to try and beat up all the enemies and stuff. And if you're under-leveled, you can run away, but generally speaking, you beat up the enemies in this circle and then get the XP and items and shizzle and move on with things. And it's kind of, sort of standard combat, I suppose. It's like, soft and hard attacks and aerial attacks and stuff. There's a bit of comboing, but it's not, let's not pretend it's Devil May Cry or anything in terms of what it's trying to do here. It's just, quick attacks and hard attacks and stuff like that. In terms of gameplay, a lot, obviously, with the Mana series, a lot of what they do is a lot of the kind of lore is based around these kind of 8 elementals. So they are water, rock, earth. No, earth is rock. Water, earth, air, fire, light, dark, moon, and wood. There we go. The 8. And I won't list you giving their names.
Wood.
Wood
is an
elemental.
element.
What's that?
Not earth.
No, wood. Elemental. They're just the elementals.
I don't know what's... Okay.
Yeah. So there's 8 elementals in the series. That's what there are. So they pop up in all the games, generally speaking. And the kind of way they manifest themselves in these games is the story. The story is set around a journey that has to happen every 4 years, right? So every 4 years, 8. There's people called arms that get kind of nominated every 4 years, one for each elemental.
Just to be clear, that is ALMS.
Yes.
Yeah.
Alms.
Yeah.
Alms. However I pronounce that in the next 10 minutes, it's alms. Alamasa.
No.
So not arms.
No.
So they get chosen once every 4 years, and then they all go on essentially a sacrificial journey to the mana tree, where they basically give up their soul, and then that means that the mana tree gets more energy, and then the world can carry on being all lovely and happy. Which sounds pretty fucking dark, because when you step back, it really, really fucking is, because it means that 8 people every 4 years.
I think that intro, the first bit, is kind of dark. Like, it's a beautiful looking game. It's all colourful and vibrant, but like that opening is kind of like, what am I playing?
It is weird, and it's interesting because the way kind of the world is set up is that everyone's just kind of accepted that this is okay. So like, you literally, as far as everyone who lives in this world is concerned, it's like, that's just what happens.
If I recall, when you get to chapter like the first character proper, the chosen fire arm. Yeah, it is fire, isn't it? The first one. Yeah. Like, her parents are literally celebrating that she's chosen.
Yeah, it's like the biggest honor.
Yeah, it's beyond acceptable. They know what's going to happen, right? They know.
Yeah. It's considered because this is the point. Yeah, so because it's like accepted as a thing. Being chosen to be like the sacrificial lamb, if you will, is like the highest honor you can possibly have, even though it means you're going to die, and you know anyone that knows you is going to lose you forever. But it's fine because you're doing it for the greater good, because your death means everyone else gets to live for another 4 years. So actually, the way that they view it in this world is like it's a really, like I say, the highest honor. Which is interesting, because my first reflection was I'd be like, I don't want to be it, and I don't want to die. I don't want to, give up my life. Whereas like a lot of pretty much consistently throughout the world, everyone's like, it's thank you so much for, ending my life early so I can give it to the mana tree. So
like, not to start spoiling, but the second elemental arm that you encounter is like actively annoyed and angry that they've not been chosen to be sacrificed.
Yeah, exactly.
That's as far as I've got, so I don't know much more.
Actually,
than that,
like, fuck you if you're not going to choose me. I'm the best person to choose to.
Then goes out of their way to be like, I want to be chosen. Please choose me. I'm going to prove myself. Do choose me.
Yeah,
like it's kind of weird.
It is a little bit weird. And do you know what? Like, it's one of my criticisms of the game, because what it ends up meaning really is for the first half of the game, because everyone's so thrilled to be sacrificial lambs, the party dynamic is just so positive. Like, everyone's just having a fucking great time, and there's no peril or danger. You're just kind of exploring a world, which is lovely, and we'll get onto that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But like, in terms of a story that's interesting, there's no tension in the group. Everyone likes what they're doing. There's no sort of like foreshadowing or anything bad happening, and then it all sort of happens at once, probably too far late down the line than it should do. Whereas if you think about something like Tales of Arise, there's like infighting and tension from the start between characters and stuff, and clearly shit's not right, and different people have different perspectives and they're making little snide comments. Don't get me wrong, I don't have to have bitching in my games for it to like be interesting, but just when everyone's in that whole goody two shoes mode, when you're kind of character RPGs where you've got a party, there's always going to be a few of them like, if all of them are like that, it feels a little bit forced. It does get a lot better in the second half of the game. Let me be really clear on that. But I wish it had kind of introduced.
I think the thing about this game that I it feels kind of a throwback in some ways to me, like, and not in a bad way, by the way. So
No.
you know, I don't, because I know how you know. I don't want to offend you or upset you because it's just this beloved series, but you gave it an 8 out of 10, and I totally get that.
Yeah.
A lot of it feels like an old Square Enix RPG, but with modern visuals and audio and like loads quickly and stuff. But a lot of it feels, and what I will say about that is that I'm saying that, but I'm not saying it as a negative. Because sometimes it's quite nice to have something a little bit pared back, a little bit more simple, familiar like that, but in a new tale, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Like, you know, this is why, like, obviously they remade, like I say, the Trials of Mana game a little while ago, a few years ago. This feels very similar to that, and that literally was a remake of an old game, like you've just described, it being brought up, and it feels like that, like in a really good way.
It feels like a new base. This feels like a new base for the series, but on... See, I don't want people to go away thinking I'm saying it feels old, because it doesn't feel old.
No, it doesn't. It's what it is, and I kind of tried to say this in my review. Like, since Secret of Mana, and you know that's widely considered to be the best in the series. You know, it's been a bit up and down, and there have been some very low downs in that series. You know,
it's not been a series that Square has given an enormous amount of.
No, and it hasn't been consistent either. It's not like it's been 90s.
No, it goes away forever and then comes back like what?
Yeah, and that game could be, you know.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing until we played it. I don't even think the demo gave a great idea of it. Until we played it, it was like, which way is this going to go? Like,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
I think it's definitely more the upper than the downer.
It is, and like I said in my review, like, stability for a series like this is, and it's good stability, like solid, like 8 out of 10 stability. A good game, looks beautiful, lovely, lovely soundtrack. Loads of references to the series. If people are into this series like me, or have played the older games, whether it's, you know, enemies, there's name drops and references, there's the elementals and stuff. There's so much in there for people that know the series as well. And it's a good action game with combat. The combat's cathartic and everything else. Like, it feels nice to play and stuff. And it is a decent story. Like I say, I just wish maybe it just takes a little while to get going. Like, I'm not crapping on it. I enjoyed my time. I didn't not want to play it. I always wanted to crack on and play more of it.
Yeah. I think I would have continued, but when I got to it, the sort of avalanche had begun. Like,
Astro Bot and stuff
Astro
like
Bot,
that.
you know, the casting of Frank Stone we'll go to in a minute.
Yeah.
But more than just that. Like, I think Black Myth Wukong. Like, you know, everything had started to come.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's what I mean. Like, and it is, although you
it's a
did
shame
it in 40 odd
because
hours, didn't you? It was like surprisingly not as.
It's the best part of 30 hours, probably slightly less than that.
Which is less than I would expect.
Well, I think it's never been like big JRPG type 50
not quite
hour
Xenoblade
banger. No, Jesus Christ, no.
What is, to be fair.
No, yeah, to be fair. But
Persona.
But even so, like, you know, it's a solid game in the series. I hope that it's not the end. I hope it's not we tried to bring back the series.
Do you know the trouble with that is I don't think it matters how it scored. I don't think it matters how fans received it. What's going to matter is how it sold, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, if the game didn't sell, whatever internal metrics Square has, if it didn't sell
it needs to sell,
that or above, they won't go back to. Because this, I mean, visuals and audio alone won't have been cheap. Like, it's not. This couldn't have been a cheap game to make. No. I'm hopeful for you if that makes sense. But I don't really know what the. I guess, does she go and start canvassing on the street? What did fans make of it? You're a fan, and you thought it was an 8 out of 10. So, you know,
I think the vibe I've got is that, I mean, no one's saying this is the greatest game ever.
But is anyone like really down on it? Like,
I don't think so. I think people are appreciating it for what it is, which I think is what you need to do. I just don't know, like you've said, whether there's enough of those people when it's being launched in a schedule like this, where there's definitely going to be lots of people wanting all the other games around it, and people only have a certain amount of money, right? I think that's the challenge.
You can't even go, yeah, but it's a big JRPG. It's like, yeah, but Square already had one of them this year themselves.
Yeah.
You know, let alone like Metaphor ReFantazio, and let alone Like a Dragon, let alone Grand Blue.
How many RPGs have you
Persona 3
year?
Reload. You know, like, it has not been a poor year for.
No.
Well, I guess time will tell. is all we can say. But
Yeah.
if you're intrigued, read the review, watch the review on this channel if you're on YouTube.
Yeah, I would say to people, like, if you like the Mana series, I don't think you'll be disappointed with this one.
My only thing, because I would normally go a bit like with Astro Bot, you hear, well, look, if you've got a PS5, you've played Astro's Playroom, so you kind of got a feel for it. I would normally go play the demo. I don't think when I played that demo, I genuinely felt this is a bad demo of a good game.
Yeah,
because it's one of those where you are in the middle of. Well, I haven't even got to that point yet, but it looks about chapter 3 or 4, I would guess. You've got a lot of party members, a lot of spells, and it just gets like there's a page of information, and you're like, okay, okay,
yeah,
and then you start. I'm just going to hit this button because it seems to be attacking things.
Yeah, the main game, obviously, because it's I don't know how 7 hours in, 8 hours in, whatever it is, probably about a third of the way in. It's had lots of time to introduce loads of things, whereas in the demo, it's like, best get reading because you need to know all these things because they're relevant to the point in the game you're in.
Right now.
Right now. And it's like,
yeah, that's just not how it does it in the game.
No, and it's not how you feel when you play it. By the time you get to that point in the demo, when you're playing it properly, you know 95% of the things it's already told you. Like in the demo, so it's like it does when they then introduce that extra couple of bits. You're like, it's fine. It just feels like a normal part of the game.
The progression in the main game is fine. The demo is like, wow, there's a lot.
And the story slice, is it's like starting Skyrim. Do you remember that where that intro of Skyrim where they have about 1 million references? And you're like, what the fuck is all this going on here? It's like that, where you're like, they're all talking about things that have happened. It's like, but that hasn't happened to me yet because I'm only playing the demo kind of thing. But yeah.
Well, let's move on to another game where things happen to people.
Wow, that's the benchmark of a segue.
I'm not that out of practice, but things happen to people a lot, Chris White, in a game that you reviewed called The Casting of Frank Stone. Enjoyed it? I mean, I know you did because you reviewed it, but like,
yeah, it's. I feel like it's nowhere near the best Supermassive game.
Do you want to do this while we're here? Do you want to
tasty?
Do you want to do our own tier list? No, Lyle, you're not allowed. You hate them. Wow, but Chris,
I do not hate them all.
I know. You hate them as much as I hate Death
Which
Stranding.
ones do you like out of interest?
Yeah, which is your favourite?
Until Dawn and the Quarry.
The best one's The Quarry, and Until Dawn's like good plus.
Fucking hell, right?
Chris,
carry on, Chris.
If this isn't the best, what's the best Supermassive?
Well, I would probably agree with Lyle. To be honest.
Okay, I'd have them two the other way around, but like,
I would.
They're both,
But no, it's still a good lifestyle. I still loved it. Like I think if Dead by Daylight was nothing to do with it, it would be a not middle of the road Supermassive.
So I've never played Dead by Daylight.
Okay,
I knew it was. No, I thought.
And I've played a lot.
No, you've played a lot, Chris. You've played a fair bit, haven't you?
Yeah.
I thought Frank Stone was in Dead by Daylight.
Right.
That's incorrect, isn't it?
Not to my knowledge.
No. I think he's going to be.
Yeah, I would be incredibly surprised if he's not.
That didn't happen.
Yeah, it's not been announced yet, which I was surprised about. Yeah, because when it ended, the game finished.
We're not going to spoil stories, obviously, but
please don't. No. I'm halfway through.
No. I went to Google to see if it had been announced, and there's nothing. So I'm sure it will.
I've really honestly played it the whole way through, thinking this is a villain from, and because even you find collectibles that are.
Yes,
from the game, right? They're like the Doctor. They are the baddies in some of the baddies because there's loads. I looked this up afterwards. There's so many bad guys in Dead by Daylight now, and there's there's a Nemesis or whatever, and like Predator or something. I don't know. Anyway, sorry, Chris.
No, it's all right. So there's in terms of references, there's like one every 5 seconds. Like not just characters, like the names of places. There's.
See, that's like
things on shelves. Like
I imagine. Can I ask a question? Sorry, on that. I imagine there's a ton of references in all of the the books and texts and stuff that you pick up.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's just all that's going over my head.
There's a lot of lore in Dead by Daylight, but it's all text based, and it's like there's there's not a lot of like cutscenes or anything like that. Or
you could sort of just spend a night reading.
In Frank Stone,
it builds really that referential through its tomes, rather like when you play Dead by Daylight, it's literally you're in a map, you're a killer or you're a survivor. You have to survive or you have to kill, and that's it. But that's what makes it. That's what makes it so good.
Yeah.
But like, there's always been a want to learn more about why is it, what is happening, like what's the entity, who is the entity, like the core principles of Dead by Daylight. You've got the entity who pulls all these killers from their own worlds, shoves them in this game, and then that's why it takes place in different maps, and that's how they can get away with bringing Freddy Krueger or Chucky or a Demogorgon or whatever it is, or Nicolas fucking Cage.
Wait, is he a baddie in it?
No, he's a survivor.
Oh, right. I was going to say, for a minute, I thought he was a baddie in it.
However, if you're listening, of course they are, behaviour, you should bring Nicolas Cage's character from Longlegs as a killer into the game, because that would be insane.
Oh, that'd be so good.
It'd be great. It'd be
what about
amazing.
the vampire film that he's in? Is he not? Is that
Renfield?
Is that sort of a baddie, isn't it? They should just have Nicolas Cage all his roles in it.
Just
I'd just play a game where Nicolas Cage is in. Yeah,
that would be kind of mad.
But in terms of like the gameplay, it has all the hallmarks of a supermassive game. But what it does do is the generators in Dead by Daylight.
That bit I did get.
Or skill checks or whatever. You've got like the circle with the the little gauge, and then there's like the markings where there's a white bit of the gate, that white bit of the mark, and then the clear bit of the mark.
So your active reloads timing, isn't it?
Yeah, when you stop it in the white, it gives you more on the generator. But the skill checks.
It's Chris Hyde speaking as well. It couldn't have been. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you've got those for when there are generators in the game. That's surely not a spoiler. If you think there is, it's obvious that they're going to have these generators in the game. But then there's like just the skill checks where you have to stop someone hitting you or whatever, and you get it right, brilliant. If you don't, sometimes it can lead to death or
nasty
whatever.
Things.
Nasty
things.
Can
I ask a question, right? Because I've played most of the Supermassive games, right? This one because that's the only QTE that I've experienced, right? Actually, there's the balance one from the Devil in Me as well.
Oh yeah,
but like the one like you say, the circle with the whitey and the non-whitey bit, right? You have to stop it in, right? And then it feels really fucking quick. Unless I'm old now.
Yeah, no, I thought the same.
Fuck me.
I thought the same.
That's exactly the same as fixing generators in Dead by Daylight.
So they've adjusted that to the Dead by... Because I wondered, because this has got difficulty settings.
Yeah.
So I wondered if I put it on easy, would that be more generous?
It probably would slow it a little bit, yeah.
But that's the kind of thing about playing, like Lyle knows. When you're trying to fix a generator as quick as possible, if you fuck it up, then it alerts the killer. So then you're like, shit, do I continue? Do I try and run away?
Yeah.
So it has to be that kind of...
You can have played for hundreds of hours, but it kind of is expecting you to have played for hundreds of hours, and so there's still a decent chance.
The thing, this is a really visual thing, but the circle, basically a circle spins round, and as you say, there's like a timing window. Each time that window moves somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
is that from Dead by Daylight?
Yeah, you've never
it's not like there. It's not 6 o'clock every time. It would okay.
No,
okay, that does. I mean, I knew the generator. Like that's very much. I get it. This is Dead by Daylight. That does make sense because I did think to myself, "Am I just shit?"
I was so annoyed though because I'm less than halfway through, right? So I'm sure this will serve me terribly later on. But I've done one generator, right, which is babies first, right, and flawless execution, right, of those quick time events. Every other one where it actually might make a difference to someone living or dying, I have failed every single one of them.
Yeah.
But it's so far early in the story, it's the point where the game just takes the piss out of you. You know what I mean?
That gives you a second chance.
The characters literally just go, "You're shit," and I'm like, I'm well aware that I'm shit and old and slow. Yeah. So who knows which way it's going to go for later in the story, where it's like the stakes are raised and death and all that sort of stuff.
I like that bit about it because it's not predictable. Like those can just be thrown in at any point, so you can't just a cutscene. I'll just watch this and wait for my.
No, you could never do that anyway with a massive.
I think this one's a bit tighter. I haven't played them all of them, but I played the Core until done. I played some of the Dark Pictures. I feel like this one, it starts a lot slower, and then when the things start to happen where you can live or die, I feel where I think they've tried to be like, no, it's really important that you talk to people and you be nice or be nasty to make that relationship thing. But I feel like this is one of the ones where they've kind of gone, that's still here, but it kind of doesn't matter. It's going to boil down to... Now, I know that might be to some a negative. I think that's a more fun game to play. Because rather than having to be too concerned about, do I be nice to this person? Or it comes down to like these big dramatic horror moments where someone lives or dies, and it's based on some choices that led you there. But I feel like this one, I don't know, like looking at the trophies and stuff. There's, I don't know if it's a spoiler to say how many branching paths there are in total.
No,
not really, right? But there's over 200. Now I've never looked them up in the previous games, but that seems a lot.
Yeah.
And having played the story through, there are parts of it, and played the story a lot, by the way. Thanks, Chris.
Coffee was great. Cheers, buddy.
Coffee was good. Glad. I'm really, really glad. But like, there are still parts of it where I've played like 5 times through it, and I'm like, I never did that all the way through. How would that work? And like, even the ending, there's still like a few. I've deleted the game since out of spite, if nothing more.
There's a lot of endings for how characters end up, but the core story fits into Dead by Daylight.
Even I got that
the best way.
Even I got that. Like when the credits roll, and even I was like, oh, even as someone who doesn't play it, I get that. That's really cool and brilliant. And I don't know. Would you? What do people expect from these games? Because,
I asked this question.
You either like them or you don't, right?
I ask this question every year I review them, to be honest. And it's a bit like what we just said about Vision Man. I review it for what it is.
Yep.
Because what it's not, because what it cannot be, right? And this is the thing, right? When you have a narrative, when you're choosing your own adventure, right? Like that kind of thing. When you're making decisions, by definition, you can't always then expect every kind of story beat to be a horror set piece or whatever, because there would have to be so many of them depending on what you chose, that's just not viable anyway. So then you're in a situation where you go, okay, well, I'll keep the main horror beats to the kind of main narrative path that has to happen so the story gets to the end. But then people complain that it's too linear. So it's like, sometimes I think some people, and I will say some reviewers, not just of this game, but of just this type of game, just seem to moan about the existence of the genre. And I'm like, well, I always try and compare them to themselves to say, okay, well, is this, I'm looking at this, I've said to you, Adam, my initial impression, like you said, it's quite slow to get going.
Yeah, it is. But I did
and I've played Man of Medan, right? So I know slow to get going ones of these. So it's like, but then I also know it's trying to tell multiple stories, which is kind of new for this type of game. So it'd be interesting to see how it all links together, right? But
I do genuinely think, in terms of story, it's one of the better Supermassive games. But I also, I don't know. For me, when I'm playing these, like, maybe it's an age thing. Because do you remember the old games where it was like, go north, you are now in a forest. Which way do you want to go? Left, return. Yeah, right. This is kind of like the evolution of that very much original idea of choose your own adventure, but we've got Hollywood budgets, and but you also have to be a bit realistic. Like you say, there has to be a through line of story. You cannot expect someone to go, we're going to make this game where basically at point A it becomes 3 different games completely, but then there's got to be also point B, C, D, E, F, where it changes for your, because you want your narrative choice, and every time it does that, we have basically had to make a completely new game with all new cutscenes and everything, because every branch is so varied.
Exactly.
There has to be a sort of expectation set that they do some of that, but
I know. I had
a moment in this, and I won't spoil it, but there was a moment where, playing through it so many times, where I had a moment where basically the scene was exactly the same, but the character had swapped to a different character because the other character was dead and someone needed to be there, and the line was the same. And I didn't play that and go, oh. It's like, no, I've played this 4 times. This is kind of okay. And like, this is the first time this has happened.
And I do think that people underlook the art to what you're describing of, like, how do you weave 241 choices or whatever it is into a narrative that actually makes sense, and all of those, to your point, the little branching cutscenes and everything else, how do they all make sense? It's not easy to do. If you were to sit with a piece of paper and go, right, I'm going to draw the tree myself, the cutting room tree that we're talking about, and make it make sense.
But what I would say is, I think this is the best they have. Now, I haven't played them all, so caveat. I've played The Quarry, I've played Until Dawn, I've played this, I've played a few of the other Dark Chronicles, but this I think does that the best. Now,
what's
I don't think it's the scariest. I should say as well. I don't think this is a scary game.
Really, we'll talk about that at the end when I've played it. But I think what's interesting is you don't normally see the cutting room stuff.
So that's because we've got the deluxe edition.
No, it isn't. That's not normally there in terms of knowing what different things go to where.
Oh, right. Sorry, I see what you mean. The way they've actually done it.
I've seen. There's been videos, like behind the scenes at Supermassive, where you see them on the PC. And where they're talking about it as this has got a million branching outcomes.
Right.
And you see the little diagram on someone's screen blurred out.
And we're now getting that by the sound of it. We're seeing
which I don't know if you will for Dark Pictures, but it certainly sounds like somewhere where they want to go. But I'll be honest with you.
Are they still doing Dark Pictures? Because
there's a whole series too.
No, but are they not calling them?
Oh, that? I think so. It's still called. So Directive 8020 is still called the Dark Pictures, but it's very zoomed back in terms of.
Because aren't the other games like the Dark
Tiny
Pictures suffix, and now they're like, this is 8210, the Directive, a Dark Pictures story.
Yeah, I love the fact that you call it an 8210 like it's a Nokia phone. I love that. I would never stop finding that funny.
I don't think it's cool.
I shall review Directive 8210 when it comes out.
I don't even know how you must be. I'm getting old when I don't even understand why I'm being mocked.
So I'll forget what I was going to say. I'm enjoying it. Yeah. I mean, I don't know where I'm going to rank it. I enjoy them. I just find them fun. Like
I will agree on that.
Interesting, and I don't have the Dead by Daylight frame of reference that you have, Chris, and you obviously would have, Lyle. It'd be interesting to know if you ever got time to play it, Lyle, after you finished Rebirth.
I have a friend coming over next week, and we're going to play through it together. So I'm going to play this before Rebirth, like everything else this year.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, it's been a while. Let's hope we get this right. It's time, ladies and gentlemen.
Play the jingle. Chris Hyde. Listen to Correspondence. It's time. Chris Hyde. Okay, so we're back with listener correspondence, and we'll kick off with McPoo, who asks, thoughts on the Concord situation. Was this the best thing to do?
You missed the first part of the question.
I have, mate, just to be a cunt.
Right.
Okay, he asks, how are you all doing? Fucking hell, I'll just go on mute. Go on then, Adam.
Well, no, I could answer for all of you, I reckon, but I don't think you should.
I've been on holiday.
Yeah, you've been to Corfu. You're fantastic. Lyle's got married.
Yeah.
I got his name wrong. Chris White, how are you? How are you doing?
So I'm not fantastic anymore.
You're fantastic for one day.
Great.
Okay, cool. A lot of that is why we've been away, right? But the main reason's me. Like, let's not beat around the bush. I'm not going to go on about it. There's been a bereavement in my family following a very, very long illness, and essentially carried on working, was fine. Somehow got food poisoning, which knocked the shit out of me for a week, and then my body and brain just went, yeah, it did, literally. And my body just went, this ain't right. And my brain then went, yeah, it ain't right. And I took a month off. And in that month, I think Lyle got married, Chris went on holiday, and Chris covered my ass, essentially.
Chris had a breakdown.
Yeah, had a breakdown covering my ass. But yeah,
not because of covering you. No.
Well, I don't know.
It's
fucking Deadpool's fault.
Yeah.
But yeah, how are you all doing?
Yeah.
I am. Honestly, like, I'm not just being a prick. I'm really glad we're back with the podcast. I am.
Yes.
This has been fun so far. Let's see if we can keep the fun going.
How are you doing? All right. Yeah. It, as to be expected, it was a bereavement very close to me, and it has been very, very fucking difficult. And I still maintain, I've said this before, don't know if I've said it on the podcast, but like life, death, and taxes, these are things that children should be taught in school, because when it comes around, you ain't got a fucking clue what you're doing. And all you can do is rely on the people you love 3 of whom are here right now. I wouldn't be in any fit state to record a podcast were it not for these 3. So, sappy moment aside, thanks to anyone who's sent well wishes and all that stuff. And hopefully, fingers crossed, this is not only the start of us getting back to a regular schedule of podcasts, we can even maybe start recording some of the Patreon exclusive stuff. So, of course, I do have to use this opportunity of talking about a family bereavement to promote.
Yeah.
I can't do it. But like, yeah. Thoughts on the Concord situation wasn't the best thing to do.
From one awkward situation to another.
I'll go because I was talking anyway. But like, this is a really interesting one because they pulled the plug mega quick. Like, I think everyone thought they were going to. I think the suggestion is that a lot of people might think, well, the beta numbers alone must have made them think. But you can't that close to release have spent all that money and then just go, do you know what, fuck it.
8 years as well,
like a long time of development. I must admit, when they announced it and when they said what was going to be the big deal about it, like, you know, the episodic stuff, and I must admit, when I saw that, I thought, that's a lot of money you're going to have to spend to get those big kind of Blizzard-style cutscenes every time, you know, your seasons change and all that. There's a lot of money for a game that isn't out yet. And then you realise it's like not a free-to-play game. I don't know what else they could have done. They could wait another week until the numbers go just to single figures on Steam. Like, was this the best thing to do? What was the alternative? Is the question I would ask. Just pretend it's all fine.
I mean, get a time machine and
yeah. I mean, at least you get to do it and then just go Astro Bot.
I mean, I did see that. I think it was on Reddit. That is a really, really strange thing. Like, they've basically had to unrelease a video game to go back to the drawing board at the main, and then like within a week or whatever, they've released one of the most critically acclaimed, according to Metacritic, games of the year. Well, according to us and Metacritic, of the year. Like, what a juxtaposition that must be right now at Sony HQ.
And the juxtaposition of single player game versus multiplayer.
But do you not think the writing's been on the wall there for a bit? Because I mean, I don't play that type of game very often. Lyle plays Fortnite, and I know Dead by Daylight. Chris Hyde, you do play a bit of Call of Duty, I want to say.
I play a bit of Call of Duty and Pro Clubs on.
But those are two games that I think it would take an act of God to stop. Like,
yes, yeah.
And
same with Fortnite. I mean,
so
it's like
Chris White's on Fortnite now and again as well, aren't you? And I think again. These are established video games.
There's so many.
Someone said to me recently, "Do you think Apex is next?" Like Apex. Someone said to me, "Do you think Apex Legends will be next?" I shouldn't think so. That game looks like it's done all right, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I doubt it.
The thing is that I don't know. You hear so much on like social media about the state of the industry, and you hear all this stuff around like the big executives just think the only way to go is with, you know, like big multiplayer games versus single player games don't do well. And I'm like, well, I mean, let's see how well Astro Bot does, but I'd be absolutely gobsmacked.
That's true.
If it doesn't just do amazing in terms of numbers, you know, given how many PS5s are out there now, and the Switch has been doing loads with single player games.
I wonder if there is data anywhere on how many people who own a PlayStation 5 didn't play Astro's Playroom.
Yeah, because that's got to be.
Because if you played it,
as time goes on,
maybe, yeah, maybe you buy a PlayStation with the new FIFA, with the new Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, the only thing you'll get is because I know a couple of friends I play FIFA and COD with. That's the only games they play. They could not be less interested in anything else that's remotely fun, right? And so they might have played Astro's Playroom because it technically came free, but they wouldn't want to part with 60 quid or whatever.
But you wouldn't have bought a Wii and not played Wii Sports, right? Would you?
No, I'm just saying it's still a leap to then have to say, I've now got to spend money on this new game. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. It's saying, but did I enjoy it enough to spend 60 quid on it? And some people aren't, but I think the proportions are very high for people that enjoyed it.
There excitement around this game.
Yeah.
But what's the best thing to do? What was the best thing to do for Concord?
I do think what you've said is correct. I think you can bury your head in the sand, and whatever you did, right, you were going to have to kill it, or, you know, put it under review or whatever they've officially said they're doing until they clearly make it free to play. But like it's I think the timing thing is actually genius because people laughed about it for 2 days, and now Astro Bot is all everyone's talking about. So I feel like it's probably a good thing that they've done it, and it's kind of now everyone's talking about Astro Bot. So fine.
Can I do
and it's kind of old news now, isn't it?
Can I send you a question to answer?
What?
Can I add to listener correspondence with a question?
Is it going to be like the old days where it's like some fictional person?
Yeah,
country.
Yeah.
No, it was going to be. Do you think Concord comes back?
No.
If it comes back as free to play with horrendous microtransactions and shit. If it comes back at all,
but do you
I think 8 years of development, you can't just plan it completely. I think you've got to try that other model.
But sunk cost fallacy, though, isn't it? Like at some point, didn't Sony?
Yeah, but I think you say, okay, let's try and make this model work. If it doesn't work, you have to pull it because it's not going to work. They're the two big models, right?
So you reckon they'll give it another go?
Yes,
Chris,
given
you
the
don't.
cost they've already laid.
No.
La?
I think so. I think again, yeah.
I don't think it will work, by the way.
No, again, I also agree with that.
I think they will try.
I don't know because I think there's a bit of that kind of car crash mentality where it will come back and people will play it to be like, I played it before they finally, I don't know.
Oh, I've seen people on Twitter going, haven't people been trying to get the platinum before?
Yeah, something like that before it comes.
That's quite fun.
Or like, now my physical disc is like a collector's item. I'm like, yeah, well,
did it come on disc?
So it's my poo.
Yeah.
Was it a disc?
There was someone.
Yeah, there was a disc. Yeah.
I did not know that. I assumed it was a digital only game being on. Well, okay. Yeah. Long story short, we don't know. Chris, what's the next question, mate?
So the next question, the real Captain of Redemption asks, is Star Wars Outlaws the start of a new Star Wars franchise? And secondly, when will time stop to allow us to play all the games?
Well, Chris White reviewed it. He'd be the best person to...
That's Mr. White.
I liked it. I did enjoy it, but I don't want it to be a franchise. No. I think Mick said it in the chat about Star Wars games. You could do anything, any era, but they rely on the same 30-year scope to fit in. And I get why they do that, because the wider audience might not know, the wider universe of Star Wars, but there's so much space to, like Knights of the Old Republic. That was based on that Old Republic era, where the only kind of content was the Legends novels and stuff, back in the day. But now you don't need to, we don't need to see the same kind of shit all the time. I would just love them to just, with setting it somewhere else, you also have that freedom. You have more freedom. But what they're worried about is obviously the canon and the proper story of Star Wars.
Oh, you don't want to do an Acolyte, do you?
No, exactly. So, when someone tries to do something different, whether it's good or bad, I mean, I haven't really watched the Acolyte, so I don't know. But, they set it in a period where there hadn't been anything canonically done yet. But I think games, there's more freedom to do that. And I think I would much rather see them just try something new. Oh, I know there's a risk with it. But, if they made another, I wouldn't be like, well, I'm not playing it. Because
would you not
really
hope
good.
that they made, like, the Watch Dogs to Watch Dogs 2, the Division 2 to Division 1, the Assassin's Creed 2, the huge leap they get from the sequelizing a big game like that? Because I feel like that's almost what it could do.
I'd like, because as good as Cave S is and Nick's the cute little fella. Which, did you know the voice actor? Well, I say the voice actor for Nick's.
Say, wait, really what? Voice,
but I don't know if you've ever watched the Clone Wars, anyone?
Afraid not here.
Some of the vast Clone Wars.
Yeah, so yes. the animated Clone Wars, it's the same voice who voices Captain Rex, who is like massive character in it. But so if anyone is listening and doesn't know what I'm talking about, that's your fact of the week. But anyway, I long story short, I would say
by the sounds of it
probably isn't. I don't know if they'll bother with a new one. I'd like to see a different Star Wars game.
No
one else, Chris.
I mean, I haven't played it, right?
No, that's what I'm saying.
My view on it,
the next question.
I can't remember the Star Wars game from last year.
Jedi.
Cal Kestis.
That wasn't last year, surely.
Yeah, it was.
Jedi Survivor.
Yeah,
Jedi Survivor was last year. Yeah. Just to throw that in there. Jedi Survivor. I hadn't played the original that, and I still jumped on board that. So if they did, it'd be fine for me. I don't think I'll get a chance to play Star Wars Outlaws.
I think I'm probably not going to get a chance to go back to
and
it.
So I wouldn't mind. I do kind of agree with Chris. Like, I'm not passionate about them not being in that 30 years, but I also wouldn't mind it because, like, I don't remember where all the shit happens in all the. I know the films stuff, but with the other stuff, I'm not. Oh, that's definitely between film 3 and 4 or something. I don't really have a frame of reference for all the characters like you do, Chris. So, like, if they did just go, fuck it, it's over here, like 1,000 years and 1,000,000 light years over here, I'd be like, fine, as long as it's interesting and it's fantastical, like Star Wars. That's what good Star Wars feels like. I'd be fine with it. Like, I just, yeah, I'm not as. I do like a Star Wars game, but I've played enough Star Wars games in the film bit, like replicating the films. I don't need to play anymore. I'll just give me a lightsaber. I'll break shit up. Right. And in terms of when will time stop, fuck knows. But it ain't gonna happen soon, is it?
We need them things from Astro Bot to freeze time.
Yeah. Oh, there's that in Visions of Mana as well. That was going to be my little link, and I forgot to say it. So that's in every fucking game. Tired trope that it is. Next question. Oh yeah, sorry. Next question from Gary. What's your go-to comfort game? Dead by Daylight, guys.
I would go with EAFC normally. I would jump on an EAFC straight away.
What do you play on EAFC? I don't think we've talked about this before.
So I don't have I don't have any friends.
Yeah.
I don't have any friends that play pro clubs, really.
Yeah.
So I literally just jump into it.
Wow.
No. That's an amazing burn. I'm glad you picked up on it as well. It's like, literally look me right in the eye, and when I don't have any friends that play pro clubs.
You mentioned it this episode.
I'm also here.
Literally gonna play it today. But yeah, you carry on, mate.
Well, carry on now, kind of. I don't have any.
Play, like,
no one. All right then.
Or what?
No one plays it with me.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you play career though? Is that what you play?
I play career.
That's still shade. I feel.
I think it's definitely casting shade.
It's less shade though.
If you guys want to play pro clubs with me, I'll be there straight away because I love playing.
Now he's actually.
I'm all right. Thanks.
Yeah. We don't like football, though.
Oh, for fuck's
yeah, that's right.
We have played together. We just, for some reason, we just stop and then
It'll be the millions and millions of video games that come out every week.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But EAFC is the one I go to.
Yeah. Ironically, we're all going to say EAFC, but we never play it with each other.
No, I'm going to say currently that would be Zenless Zone Zero for me.
Yeah, I was going to say if you said any other game, I was going to smack you. Yeah. You're lying.
I've put an unhealthy amount of hours into that, but I think I might be reaching the end with it because it's I get that these sort of gacha games, these service games are about grind, but it's kind of pushed over the threshold for me into that level of grind where I'm like, I don't want to grind that much, and I don't have the time. It's got to the point now where I would probably need to play 4 or 5 hours a day to like. They release a new character with an update, and it's like, okay, the way it works is that you can earn a currency in game, and you spend that currency to roll, and you have a percentage chance of getting that character. And there's always like, it will even tell you like you were guaranteed it if you do this many, and that's quite difficult. You do still need a bit of luck. Because the guaranteed number is like you would need to play a lot of this game. Now they've released 2 new characters at the same time, and so obviously that's double that, and it's too much. It's too much. So that Astro Bot at the moment as well, I'm just like ticking away at the platinum, but I'm nearly there.
That went on forever.
What does make me laugh is I've heard Adam utter the phrase, "No, I think I'm stopping soon" on Zenless Zone Zero.
I haven't played it in 2 days. I haven't played.
Oh, hush my mouth
then. A shitload
I
of
can stop
content
whenever I want.
No, it's 2 days skip at the moment.
It's genuinely like they've just pushed the grind a bit too far by release, and I think the next update is going to be like another 2 new characters. I can't see me getting the 2 current new characters by the time the next 2, and I haven't got all of the characters from the original like launch of the game still. So it's like, yeah.
Do you remember when Chris just said EAFC? And Adam then spent 20 minutes talking about Zenless Zone Zero.
We haven't talked about Zenless Zone Zero on the podcast.
To be fair, no, we haven't. That's true.
I played it for the first time today.
Blimey, I bet that was a hell of a baptism.
Yeah, I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
No, you won't. It takes quite a while to get going. There's a lot going on in that game. What about you? If you're FIFA, EAFC, Chris, what's your... It's Fortnite, isn't it, Lal?
Well, I don't have any friends that play EAFC with me, so I was thinking mine. It's not Fortnite for me. It's probably Balatro. Is my comfort
You play
game,
more Balatro than Fortnite?
I don't play more, but I play Fortnite because I play Fortnite with people
He's proper slagging you off, Chris.
Oh,
I've got friends.
I've got, I've got all my friends to play Fortnite with. So yeah, no, Balatro is probably the one that, like, if I just know that I have not enough time to be starting the next review game or something, or I'm just not in that headspace at the moment, I'll just do a bit of poker with roguelike bits, and it's great.
Yeah, mine just be EAFC with friends, and in between that, normally if I'm waiting for said friends to turn up at the agreed time to consistently play online with me, I'd play Theatre Rhythm Barline.
Ooh, that's lovely.
So,
what a great
pick. So because I got the Mana DLC for that, and then I was like, oh, I know Final Fantasy IX, so I'll add that to my favorite list. And of course, now I've played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and various things have happened there. So now I want to bring on all the Final Fantasy VII tunes. So now I've got quite a little group of tunes that I know that I have on my favorites, and I just kind of play them, and then realize I can't play the hardest setting. Could you reviewed that right now? Can you play the hardest setting for like the Purple Mothers? Because they're
it was a while ago. I don't think I did everything in the hardest stuff, because there was some stuff that was stupid.
Yeah,
but I think I did all right. I don't know.
Yeah, not in the main game. When you can go and play the songs.
Yeah.
Because I can do the third hardest setting, and if you go into the fourth, it's level 13 and 14, and then my fingers, I get carpal tunnel and shit, and I can't.
I'll have to boot it back up, and I won't remember, so I definitely won't be able to now. But that will be my answer, I guess.
Banging tunes in that game, though.
Yeah.
Banging tunes.
Another game from last year, I think.
Definitely another game from last year, just to blow Adam's mind.
Yeah, he is. He's done it again.
He's like, no, it can't be. It is, yeah. Nicholas says, what is wrong with Hunt Showdown?
Nothing.
Played it.
It's a bit too tense, and it's not quite the same as Fortnite, which is the other game you play.
It's another
it's
service
not quite
game.
EAFC.
Well, hang on.
It's not quite EAFC, yeah.
We don't have time stopped yet, so.
Oh, true. We already covered that.
Yeah, very so. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just another service game in a sea of millions of games.
Yeah.
You pick your one or two, and that's it.
You pick, exactly. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, and it should be EAFC. Right.
If you've got friends.
Yeah. Mick sent through a few questions now. Some of them we've actually kind of touched on already. So Astro Bot, he's just asking, Astro's Playroom was a very good but short tech demo. I didn't play the VR game. Do you think Astro Bot does enough to warrant being a full game? I think we have covered that.
I think that one's quite obvious.
Categorically, that you believe it does. He asked about whether it plays as good on the Portal. Adam?
Yeah, it does. The only thing is that's not quite as amazing is, and this is visual, so it won't help, but obviously when you're playing Portal, like if it was Steam Deck or Switch, you're kind of holding it so the screen's facing your face, right?
Yeah,
whereas when you hold a controller, you tend to have your hands down, a more horizontal thing. There's quite a lot of Astro Bot where you can motion control tilt.
I see. Yeah.
So I find that if you're playing like that, you have to sort of...
It's like the Wii U gamepad all over again.
Yeah. But other than
you
that,
can turn off the motion control stuff in the options.
That is very true. Yeah, you can do that. The haptics are ridiculous on that game, and it plays as good. The only problem I have is that I'd be like, what is someone looking at me? And I realised that I was being watched because it was like that on the top of the haptics, because it's right near my my hands. But yeah, no, it's great on Portal. I played a good portion of it
there. Would you buy it this month, given how busy the season is?
Yes.
I'm assuming yes.
Yes.
Yes. Chris?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. Okay, Visions of Mana. I don't know if you folks have someone attending. No, but they're selling autographed copies of the soundtrack at TGS. Okay. I love the soundtrack, but wish the game had a bit more time for polish in its movement. The movement's really interesting, actually, because it's like it gives you like a double jump and a dash like straight away without fucking about, and it just means that like when you're in like combat or you're traversing stuff, it just feels like normal. Like I don't know if you guys do this in games, see what you've got at the start, and like, oh fucking hell, I've got a double jump and a dash straight away. Let's fucking go. And it just means that like it just feels really fluid and natural right off the bat, which was really good. You saying, did I like it more than Trials of Mana? About the same. I think I gave both 8 out of 10, and I think they're probably on a par with each other. Where does it sit in my Mana ranking? Same as Trials below Secret. There we go. There's a couple that I played. One of them ages ago, the GBA one. Was that Sword of Mana? I think that was the GBA one. That was a bit crap.
There was Children of Mana.
There was Children of Mana as well. I'm not sure if I played that one.
That's the only one I've played, and it wasn't very good.
I think I got burnt with Sword of Mana because I was like, that was the first one that came afterwards.
Yeah,
and I think it was good for GBA, but shite compared to Secret Mana. And I was like, I wanted it to Secret Mana too, so I was like, fuck this shit, and just threw a tantrum and didn't play Children of Mana, I think. The casting of Jesus, this is going to confuse the life out of me. The casting of Frank Stone, the disco dance scene was lovely in Corfu. I feel like that's a reference to me, but I don't
There's no dance scene in the game.
I was going to say, like, I don't understand.
This is just him having a go at you, I think, for the fact that I had to do the guides and Chris had to do the review. I think that's all.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So I normally...
Did you get a trophy for it, he asks. So, I mean, I think that's just shade.
Yeah, he's just taking a bit. Corfu was lovely. And it was. I apologise to Adam profusely because he's there messaging me going... It was so funny. We often take the piss out of Mick for like he'll like message like that he's struggling with like a Dark Souls boss and then go, this is fucking shit, this game's fucking shit, fuck, and then go, done it. About 5 minutes later, and I was messaging Adam, and I was like, oh mate, how you going? Is anyone dead yet? And he was like, and he messaged me and went, no, none yet. And then about 20 minutes later, yep. I was just like, all right, cool, I'll get a pina colada. Cheers,
and then
mate.
I think it was 2 now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, funny. Because I was trying to write a how to keep everyone alive guide, so obviously every time anyone would fall, it was like, oh man.
And if you're wondering how to keep everyone alive, you can go to godisgeek.com and find a very comprehensive guide written by Senor Cook.
Mm-hmm.
Karen, Adam.
No, that was it.
That was it.
Questions. Okay. I've got now.
Is anyone going to play NBA 2K25?
No.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, Chris is. Unfortunately,
you're playing it now?
Do you?
Yeah, I'm reviewing it. I love NBA, but it's
no jam, is it?
I haven't played enough, but it like what is different from last year?
Oh,
that's what I'm trying to work out.
Right.
I can answer the next question if it's any good on Switch this year. I don't know because we ain't going to cover the Switch version.
No.
So no idea if it's good on Switch.
Well, I know, and if anyone's going to play it, yeah, Chris is. But in fact, thank you. This is a nice chance to plug. Review coming soon, Chris, right?
Sure is.
Okay, Adam, this one's for you. Without spoiling,
yeah.
What did you think of the final bit of a game? Jesus Christ, how do you spoil about it? So, Emio, which remind me what the last bit of that game's called?
No. Right, sorry. The smiling man.
Yeah,
I thought you meant the last bit of the game because
no,
that
sorry,
is a valid
the name
question.
of the game, the smiling man. That's it. Yeah.
I thought you were literally asking me to spoil the last.
No.
Yeah,
without spoiling, it's very clear.
Man,
what did you think? One word. The final bit.
Can I hyphenate?
Yeah, go on then.
Mind blowing.
Oh, okay.
Ooh. That's good. That's a positive one.
Does that mean it's a game we've all got to play?
No. They do something at the end of that game that is very surprising because it has not really been present in the rest of the game, and it also looks like it is suddenly gone big budget. It is a very surprising thing. I don't want to say biggest surprise of the year, but it's very surprising, and I really enjoyed it. And that is, it's difficult to go, yeah, play this 10-hour point and click adventure / visual novel. It's more of a point and click than it is a visual novel, but it's a very story heavy point and click game.
Yeah.
It's really good. I don't think it's quite as scary as it thinks it is, which is the only real main negative. The marketing, like when they revealed this, was like everyone's going, "My God, this is an M-rated Nintendo game. Oh my God, it's all about murder." It is, and it is all those things, but it's kind of more thriller than it is horror. It's not really a horror game. It's not really hugely scary. It's
spooky.
Kind of.
Spooky.
Yeah. No, but the final bit he's referring to is really genuinely, mind blowing. I was really impressed.
To be fair, he does say he thought it was mad what they did, and that they really invested money into it, which is what you've said, and it's a very impressive Nintendo release.
But like they're gonna, aren't they? I mean, like the last game in the series that was new was in the 80s, so like I think.
Yeah, and they brought that back 2 or 3 years ago as that remake.
But that was so like this is a fairly big deal. Yeah.
So far in 2024, look at the games scored high on God is a Geek. What would you say was worth 70 quid if you had to tell someone to buy just 3?
We can lock in Astro Bot there, right? This is a roundabout way of getting the early look at Game of the Year list, I think.
Yeah. So we can fuck off and wait till December.
Yeah, and there's a question after this that is easy to answer and is related, so
you'd have to wait, mate.
Yeah, sorry. Don't
only 3 months
try and
to
get
go.
Our opinions via the back door with a cheeky question.
But we did say Astro Bot now accidentally.
He went Astro Bot. Fuck it, I'm not asking that question.
Here's a shock. We're going to talk about Astro Bot in December. Like, shock.
Biggest disappointment. Pooh asks again. Is this a second Pooh question?
Yeah, there's another one.
He's allowed to ask many if he wants.
What game from the very stacked second half of 2024 are you most excited to play? I've got one.
Go for it.
Dragon Age Veilguard is the one for me. To be clear, that's an event in our fucking household. Like, we're in Corfu. Sorry to keep bringing it up. And Zoe is talking. She's taking time off when it's launching. Right, she's taking holiday days to play it. She's talking about which versions of the game we need to buy. We need to buy 2 because she ain't fucking waiting for me to play it, and I ain't waiting for her to play it either. So it's a fucking event in our house. That one. I know there are other games that you guys will mention, but Veilguard in our house. Zoe knows the lore. Like, she read a Veilguard book on not a Veilguard, a Dragon Age book on holiday. In
Corfu, would you
in
like
Corfu, to all inclusive, pina coladas.
That was unnecessary. That last bit.
Over service, really. Like, Anyway,
I want to add a rule. We can't pick the same game someone else has picked. So that's
why I went. That's why I went first.
I know.
I'll go last.
I'll even go last because I know what Lyle's going to pick. So go on, just pick.
I know what you're going to pick.
What you don't know what I'm going to pick.
I 100% know.
I 100% know what Lyle was picking. 100%.
Metaphor.
Okay.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Okay. Well, no, I'm not picking that.
No, it's not.
For me, right now, it's UFO 50.
Oh, it's not what I thought you were going to say either. No. Not Plucky Squire.
Not Plucky Squire, even. I mean, I've played a bit of that for a preview, so I
kind of can't count that one.
Kind of can't count that one.
Hey, so you're not excited to play it after the preview? That's interesting.
That's not at all what you're saying, and you know it.
That's also not what I'm saying. I'm saying that my most anticipated of all the things is UFO 50. I think it's a really cool idea. I think Derek Yu is quite a proven track record of making things that I really love. And
now he's making 50.
And now he's making 50 games for a fictional games console, and that kind of show the evolution of people developing for this fictional game console. It's a completely weird and baffling concept, and I'm totally here for it. And yeah, it's as Lyle as it gets for a game.
I know what Chris is going to pick then, if I didn't know what Lyle was going to pick. Go on, Chris. I'll go last.
I'll just say EAFC 25.
No, because I ain't got any friends to play with. So, if it's definitely coming this year, which they say it is, but I don't think there's a release date, it will be Metal Gear Solid 3. But at present, no, exactly. At present,
and I know what it is. Yeah,
it's Silent Hill 2.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I was I can't pretend it isn't Metaphor Fantasia, but I'll be honest with you, I just want to shout out a different game because I played the demo of Disney Epic Mickey Rebrushed, and when I played that game, the original game, it was like, I get it, this is a cool idea, but it wasn't great fun. I played the demo of this, and it's like
having the same opinion.
Yeah, it was like I really can see what you're going for, but I don't know if they didn't have the 100% quite the budget or time or even the right vision. But just the demo, I stopped playing the demo because I'm like, no, this is going to be really good. I don't need to play more of this demo. I was really surprised by it, but it is. Yeah, it's probably Metaphor if I'm honest with you.
Not Zelda.
Well, I've played that for preview, so
oh, Jesus Christ! Get out your own arse, okay? You've played everything for preview. Fucking hell!
He's asking what are you most excited to play. I have played.
And if you've played a game for preview and you're not excited to play more, that says it's shit.
No, it just means I know what to expect and I'm going to enjoy playing more of it.
Oh God, the rules you live by.
It's called entertainment. I was trying to just not say the obvious. I said Epic fucking Mickey.
I did not expect you to say that.
No, I know.
I know you have said that to me before, but I wasn't expecting that to be
entertaining.
Zelda's exciting though too, right? We can all agree on that.
In a preview sense, what I played of it at Nintendo was really exciting. Yeah,
seventh best game of the year.
From the trailers, I am excited. That are in the public domain. I am excited.
Next question.
No, that was going to be a tumbleweed, you miserable cunts. Right, Deadbeat Punk says, with Croc finally receiving its fabled remake, which the masses have been crying out for, kickstarting the resurrection of Argonaut games, what game or studio do you think needs a similar revival? Bonus points for Bob. Which is that the B game?
No,
that's Buck Bumble.
That's Buck Bumble.
That's my fucking answer.
Oh, is it? Well, sorry, mate. Sorry, Buck Bumble.
Infamous.
Oh, that would be a good shout. Yes.
A PS5 powered Infamous title.
It's not quite the same vibe as Croc.
No, it's absolutely not even close to the. But I just was thinking about that game the other day for reasons, and it was like that would be. I really enjoyed those games. I forget the name of the standalone one. Was it Second Son?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even that I really liked, and they
they're good.
What
they're
console
just good,
were they
fun
on?
Games.
They started on PS3, and I remember people got
PS4
confused because of what was the other game that was really like it? But was also
Prototype,
and then the same thing happened again with Prototype 2, if I recall, and Infamous 2, and then Second Son, and I really like the Infamous games. They're one of the few games where I actually played the bad guy as well to see the. I don't tend to do that. It's usually Renegade or Paragon, and I will play the nice guy. But now I actually did some of the. Because I wanted to see the bad guy powers, because they were different, weren't they?
Yeah.
I would love to see that game and its tech on like a PS5.
Yeah. It's not quite the same. I get very like Spider-Man vibes with it, like where you just kind of exploring and just having a good time. It just, I love those games.
Yeah. Any more?
James Pond 2 RoboCod.
Yes, that's more on brand with Croc.
Okay,
it's a genuine. I ain't even taking a piss.
Bubsy then.
I love it.
Space Station Silicon Valley.
Or Quackshot.
What a banger.
Quackshot was another quality game.
Fucking hell. What other random shite?
We've already had Glover, so we can't see
Earthworm Jim.
School Days.
Earthworm Jim, yes.
Oh. Eternal Champions.
Earthworm Jim's a great shout.
Oh. We need a new Eternal Darkness, people. That's what we actually need.
Dark Cloud.
Wasn't that the Zelda ripoff? That wasn't the Zelda ripoff.
It wasn't.
Remember? I just remember playing it on PS2.
You made like a town.
No, but it was the character looked like Link, wasn't it?
Probably.
On the front of the box, and everyone was like,
"Yeah, maybe."
F-Zero.
Game. What's that? You said Coke Zero?
No, F-Zero.
Oh, no.
Pepsi Man. Pepsi Man needs a remake.
All the drink-based games. Cool Spot.
Oh, Zool.
Zool.
That happened.
Zool got it. I reviewed it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, you did actually. Yeah.
Cool Spot didn't. Now, Cool Spot is another one I can get behind.
Cool Spot.
What a shit name. It is literally what it is. I've never thought about that till this day. It is just looking at it and going, that's a cool spot. Yeah. You're on to it, lad.
Put shades on that.
He's got shades. He must be cool.
He's a cool
He's
spot.
wearing shades.
And wasn't that just like basically to promote 7-Up or something at the time?
It was 7-Up.
Yeah.
It was 7-Up's mascot. And another weird fact about Cool Spot is at the power station near where I used to live, in the lift as you were going up, they had a TV where Cool Spot talked to you about nuclear power.
Wild.
And I don't know why, but yeah.
No
Cool
wonder.
Spot,
Why
he
was there
gets
be
around.
like a character from 7-Up telling you about power stations in a lift?
Yeah, I don't know where that happened or why that happened, but I was in the lift. Yeah.
Wow.
Right, come on, Chris, take it home. Take it home with the final question this week.
Who'd win in a fight between Lyle and 10-year-olds? Lyle strikes me as a pacifist. And so, therefore, I reckon 10-year-olds would just...
You think I just let them tear me limb from
That's the
limb?
question I was going to ask. There's pacifism and there's defending yourself. You're suggesting if someone was going to say to Lyle, I'm going to shoot you in the head, he's just going to go, yeah, right then.
No,
I'm not getting into it.
I refuse.
I refuse
No,
to
but I
get
feel
into
like
it.
Lyle would be so concerned with not hurting the 10-year-olds, even with restraint, that would end up being his downfall.
Okay, I'll give you a fun element to help you make this decision.
I'm picking up 10-year-olds.
No, he's only ever taken on 9.
Yeah,
I've only ever done 9.
but it was a piece of piss.
No, the fun wrinkle is I don't like 10-year-olds very much. So,
Nobody does, do
is
they?
it all children or specifically 10-year-olds?
Once they hit 10, that's the only age. That's the bad age.
And when you say you don't like them, is it
I don't
hatred
fight them
enough
on
for
purpose.
violence?
If they were trying to kill me,
I want a documentary.
Also, can I be clear?
Camera crew following Lyle
At no point in this question does it say fight to the death.
I assume
Everyone
that's
just
what has
assumed that
to
that's the
happen.
only way this
Yeah.
fight can end with death.
What's the point of fighting if it's not to the death?
You see, the issue is that good point. Yeah, the issue is 10-year-olds is an awful lot of energy.
Yeah,
It is a
They
lot.
have
of
We
energy.
doesn't say if they've been
relentless.
having like sugar beforehand, like if they've been eating sweets.
Oh
and
yeah, if
having
they've
like
had Frosties, you're fucked.
Frosties.
Oh,
I haven't had a Frosty in
I'd
years
love
now. I
some
want one more than
Frosties.
anything.
a roll stuck together. You can't get them apart.
The only way
I
you
meant the
find it out
cereal,
is to
but yeah, the
organise
sweets
this.
even better. Fucking hell, yeah.
Oh, you meant like they're great.
Yeah. But yeah, those sweets, those like you say, the red ones.
Yeah,
like
the
you say-
Coke ones, cola flavoured ones.
Yeah, they'd be fucking hyper if they had a pack of them.
Why
all
did you
in
think
one.
they were eating
Bosh.
just like cereal? Why do you think 10-year-olds eat cereal? Or going out on the lash, lads, at 10, cereal me up. Get me on
There's someone, let's
me.
kill him.
To be clear, just because it's 10-year-olds doesn't mean that then 10-year-olds have to only do things at 10 o'clock. Like,
No,
we've
no,
got
I
to go out on the lash at 10 o'clock because we're 10-year-olds.
On eating cereal,
I
apparently.
just meant that Frosties is fucking sweet. There's a lot of E numbers in Frost. It was the first thing I could think of. That's got E
Most
numbers in
cereal
it.
is, though, so, you know.
Yeah.
Do you remember Push Pops?
Yep.
Yeah.
Ring Pops.
Ring Pops.
Sunny Delight. That'd
Butt
fucking
plugs.
wire the
Yeah.
fuckers.
Do you know, Sunny Delight is a strange thing because when it came over, it was like, oh, a new orange juice. If you have it now as an adult, you're like, this doesn't taste of orange at all. This is not. There's no oranges in it.
It's
It's
just
just
orange,
pretty much
but it's
4
not.
times a week on the way. Poundland sells Sunny D. They sell cherry, blue raspberry.
Yeah, I've seen the blue one.
Very nice.
Just give me a blue-coloured ice pop as a 10-year-old, and I'm happy.
And you
You
and
won't
with
meet
9
up
of your
any
mates,
adults.
And I don't need to
Beat up
take
an
Lyle
adult.
on as a 10-year-old me.
I mean, I'm the only one that's given my answer.
Yeah. Do I get? Shall I answer? I can answer.
Yeah,
I guess.
you've got to answer.
I do. I mean, I'm gonna have to answer, or
Yeah.
that's it for me. Yeah, I could beat up 10-year-olds. I'd focus on one first, and then I'd use that one's corpse to hit all the others.
Corpse. So we really are doing death fighting here.
You see,
Yeah.
that's not. See, now you've thrown me because I was on your team, so to speak. I was back in your corner and thinking, yeah, like, but
You wanted me to kill them, yeah.
Of course, I more had the vision of the very famous, or should we say, infamous video of you dancing at Christmas, and it made me think that you would just like windmill, like, and they would just like it'd be like they'd just be like flying away like bowling pins.
Yeah.
But now
Like-
you've said you
like
ain't
the
go for
gems.
one.
Like the gems in Astro Bot.
But see, now I've got the image of one of them taking the focus and the other one's just all like doing that. Like
okay, well, maybe I need to think about my strategy.
Punching you in the lumbar and stuff, and you're like, oh, me old back.
Yeah.
Just a thought. Just a cheery thought.
Yeah.
Chris, what do you think? What do you think?
I'm just amazed that we've gone from talking about Astro Bot to child abuse. So
no, that's unfair.
They're the ones trying to deal the abuse. I'm the victim here.
Hang on. Also, no. No one here has stipulated who started the fight, Lyle. You could have started this fight.
I could have. Yeah, okay. It might have been provoked.
I've got an image of Lyle walking along and this 10-year-old going, all right, mister, you got any smokes? And in a sort of Victorian,
Yeah.
And Lyle being like, fuck off, you're 10. And all of a sudden there's 9 more come from behind the bushes. And he's like, what do you say, son? It's just all of a sudden it's kicked off and windmilling.
What it's like in Stoke.
Yeah, not really the Stoke accent, was it? I suppose it was more sort of Dickensian England.
Yeah.
Dickensian London, rather. Not quite the... I'm not going to do Stoke accent, though. It's too far from mine. What is a Stoke accent?
It's difficult. It's a tough
all right, Duck, how the fucking hell are you going?
It does say... They do say Duck.
I know they say Duck. That's the only bit I've got.
That's
the only bit I've got, though. That's it. It's just, all right, Duck.
They sort of sound a bit like Scouse, but sort of off.
By you to my crook.
If you could get a shitter Scouser, it'd be Stoke.
Yeah.
On that note...
Oh, sorry, Chris, who'd win? Sorry, I didn't hear.
Lyle would win.
Wow. So it's just me back in the 10-year-olds then?
Yeah.
All right. I think that rounds off the view of the show quite nicely.
Yeah.
Roll the clip. Chris Hyde. Listen to Correspondence. It's time. It's time. Chris Hyde.
And that really rather nicely brings episode 552 to a conclusion. We know you've had to wait a fair old while for it, and apologies for that. Hope it was worth the wait. We enjoyed it. Hopefully we'll be back to regular now. And once again, thank you to Chris, to Lyle Pendle, and Chris and Lyle Pendle, I should say, and Mick and everyone else who's been really supportive over the last month or so. So I really appreciate that, and so does Chris, because it was really hard being in Corfu.
Honestly, it was. I did it for you guys.
That's not true. It's just not true. It's just
he did for the viewers.
What? You went on holiday for the?
Yeah, they needed him to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, are we going to get some sort of backstage access? Videos.
That sounds a bit like a euphemism. As
soon as I'd said it, I would have regretted it, if I'm honest. As soon as it came out my mouth, I regretted it, if I'm completely honest.
That's what she said.
You can go to patreon.com/GodIsAGeek to support us that way, where you'll find a Discord and communicate with the people who sent in those questions. That's sort of how somehow resulted in all this. You can follow us on all the social media. You can go to you can go to youtube.com/GodIsAGeek if you want to find a video version of this podcast where there's some game footage going on and there's video reviews of some of the recent games and some previews and stuff. There will be more this week if you're listening when it airs live on a Monday, but you'll get it early on Patreon, this podcast, so bear that in mind. Thank you to Chris White, Chris Hyde, and Lyle Pendle. I will, show, for those who are listening, he's showing the ring. Oh,
he is. No, that was the stag
that's
night.
A different story. Head on to Patreon to find out more.
Oh, God. Thanks, everyone. We're back. I'm sorry. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.